He's new.
You're good.
You're on.
Thank you. We'll begin the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee this evening at 7:42 p.m. Present are committee members Williamson and Limpert, council members Kelly and Glassburn, our council president, our finance director, our planning director, and guests. On the agenda this evening is a liquor permit. It's a transfer permit, permit number 7090538 from Anthony Procaccini, doing business as Frank's Place, located at 4862 Dover Center Road, North Olmsted, to AE Pro LLC, doing business as Frank's Place, 4862 Dover Center Road. Police Department did a check on this and seeing no issues, had no objection. So at this time, are there any questions? Seeing none, then I'll make a motion to recommend approval of liquor permit transfer number 7090538. Actually, can I just have a brief moment? There's two numbers on it. There's two. Which one is this? Okay, because I was reading this one. Okay, sorry. Okay, understand. Thank you. My apologies. The permit number is 00777701, not the previous number I stated on the record. So that would be, I'll do the motion again. I will make a motion to recommend to all of council permit number 00777701 for AE Pro LLC, doing business as Frank's Place, and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Limpert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes with a vote of 2-0, and our meeting concludes at 7:44 p.m. Thank you.
I would like to call the caucus meeting of November 16, 2021 to order at 7:45 p.m. Present are council members Williamson, Limpert, Heeman, Glassburn, Kelly, the finance director, law director, planning and development director, our clerk of council, and our guests this evening. First on tonight's agenda are two pieces of legislation to be considered for suspension of the rules this evening. The first is on second reading, a resolution 2021-64, which was brought forward last week in committee. And Councilwoman Williamson, did you have any additions to this resolution?
No, Madam President, but it was requested for suspension, and it was voted 3-0 in committee.
Thank you. Is there any objection to suspension? Seeing none. The next piece of legislation to be considered for suspension of the rules is on first reading, Ordinance 2021-70, which is a transfer ordinance. And Director Kopfer.
Yes, there are several items on this, and I'm requesting suspension tonight because the one item is very timely, and Director Lieber wants to discuss the park-related issue.
Okay, oh, thank you, Director Weaver.
Thank you, Madam President. One of the items in the transfer ordinance is in addition to the budget for the Clegg Park walking path and restroom project. So we bid that project. Bids were opened on November 10th. And as we somewhat expected, the bids came in a little bit higher than the engineer's estimate within the allotted amount, but over the amount that we had budgeted earlier this year. When we created the budget for this project, it was in late 2019, pre-pandemic, and I probably don't need to let council know of all the changes in the construction industry, the supply chain disruptions, labor issues, et cetera. So I think in order to move this project along timely, we're requesting the suspension on first reading so that the Board of Control can award the contract. After that, the contractor still has to produce shop drawings that are approved by our city engineer, and then order the restroom facility, which we expect to have a longer than expected in normal times lead time. And we still want to get this project done by our deadline in June of next year. So we're asking just for council's help to be able to move this project along a little bit quicker. So that's that particular item.
Thank you, Director. Questions from council? Councilman Glassberg?
Thank you, Madam President. Director, are there going to be any additions to the park to close it at dusk or to secure the bathrooms in the evening?
I believe Parks and Rec comes around and locks the restrooms at dusk. And so we've also been discussing with Parks and Rec generally the need for heightened security in our restroom facilities. So we have begun that conversation with police and also IT regarding the potential future necessity for security cameras at our park facilities to avoid the types of vandalism we've seen this past year.
It just seems to me now would be the time to integrate those things in the process, if they're not already there. How much are we adding to the budget, and could you give a little more specificity about that?
Sure. I believe it's $35,000 that's being added, and that's about 25 to cover the contract and 10 for contingency in case there's change orders for items that we did not foresee that come up during construction.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you, Director. Director Copford.
There are a couple other items that while we were doing this that should be non-controversial items and would be able to be passed hopefully on suspension as well. The other item in Parks and Rec is $15,000 increase to the paying of the gymnastics outside services contract. There's a corresponding revenue to that we bring in that covers that. And that's in recreation. And then the $35,000, that's what we were talking about, transfers out from Parks and Recreation. And then you'll see that in the Capital Improvement Fund on page 5, going in as a capital outlay for $35,000, and that's to be able to encumber the contract, and that's where you pay the contract out of. And then the other item is the $297,551.93 debt service. The bonds that we issued early this year, there is a piece that there's a debt, not a debt service, well, it is debt service, but it's just an interest-only payment in December, and that was not appropriated in our transfer when we added the bond sale. So we need to add that because we owe it.
Any questions? Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you tell me again about the gymnastics? You're transferring money because can you just explain that again?
Sure. There's a gymnastics outside consultant, Carrie Skull-Tipton. We have a contract with her. And we collect all the revenues for her, and then we remit an amount to her after the net of what she owes us for the rental. And she's really had a good year this year. It's recovered nicely. And so we need to add $15,000 more to pay her out as an outside contractor, but there's corresponding revenue that covers that.
And is that paid quarterly? Annually?
It's paid monthly,
Monthly? Thank you.
so.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Director Crawford? Seeing no other questions, any objection to suspension? Seeing none. Assignments to committee, legislation on first reading, ordinance 2021-69, 71, and 72 will go into finance. Ordinance 2021-73, public safety. Resolution 2021-74, building, zoning, and development. And Resolution 2021-75, public safety. Looking to schedule committee meetings for next Tuesday, November 23rd. Councilwoman Williamson, if you could please schedule both BZD and public safety.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll go ahead and schedule the Safety Committee meeting at 7 PM for resolutions or ordinance 73 and 75. Is there an estimated length of time that we'll need? Perhaps 10 minutes?
I guess
I don't have the agenda in front of me.
I'm thinking
maybe Director.
15?
15.
Okay.
15.
So from 7 to 7:15 for safety, and then we'll schedule BZD at 7:15 to 7:25.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Kelly, schedule a finance committee meeting.
Finance Committee will hold the meeting at 7:25 PM for 2021-69, 2021-71, and 72. And we asked the Finance Director to be there.
Thank you. Council members, are there any additions or corrections to the caucus meeting minutes of November 3rd, 2021? Seeing none, those will stand as written. And if there is nothing else, we will, oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Limpert.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to give a quick update here in caucus around the ward remapping.
Please do.
Councilman Broussard and I met with the consultants last week, Friday. They had proposed a new map based on the feedback they received in our previous meeting on the topic. Mr. Broussard and I made a couple other tweaks or recommendations to that, which the consultants embraced and felt that improved their solution. And I believe we came up with a good solution here that we'll be proposing that meets all of the feedback we heard in caucus.
Okay.
Or not caucus, in the committee as a whole.
Okay, great.
So, thank you.
Great. Thank you for that update, and thank you for taking on that task as well. We will conclude our caucus at 7:55 PM. Our regular meeting will begin at 8 PM. The council meeting of November 16, 2021 will now please come to order. The audience is invited to join council in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Broussard? Mr. Glassburn? Here. Ms. Heeman?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Limpert?
Present.
Mr. Schuman? Ms. Williamson?
Here.
If there are no additions or corrections, the council meeting minutes of November 3rd, 2021 are approved as written. The following legislation will be considered for suspension of the rules this evening on second reading, Resolution 2021-64, and on first reading, Ordinance 2021-70. In the absence of Mayor Kennedy, is there a report this evening?
I do not have a report for the mayor.
Thank you. Director Garreau, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you, Madam President. A couple of quick notes on some outstanding issues that we've been dealing with for some time now. The matter of North Olmsted versus Amanda Ramos. That is over in Rocky River Municipal Court. That is the charges brought pursuant to the situation with the dog bite case that we had. That matter is set for a final pretrial on December 16th at 8:15 a.m. We anticipate the matter will then be set for trial after that. Also, we have on the 18th, in a couple days, we have at 2 p.m., we have a preliminary injunction motion hearing set in the city of North Olmsted versus, again, Amanda Ramos in the Caucus County Court of Common Pleas to enforce the order that was issued through the court through the administrative process. And I will let you know how those turn out when they are concluded. I received notice yesterday that in the opioid litigation that there was a second settlement that the city would be eligible to receive funds from. When I get more information about that, it was the Johnson & Johnson litigation. When I do receive more information about the amount of the settlement, I will pass it along to you, but I did just receive notice of that yesterday. So I wanted to bring you up to speed on that. Thank you, Madam President. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Director Kopfer, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Madam President.
Oh, I'm sorry, Director, if you could please excuse me. Councilwoman Heeman.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a question for Law Director, if I may.
Please go ahead.
Are you at all tracking or looking into, that I had read or seen that Johnson & Johnson was interested in a bankruptcy filing to avoid those judgments? Do you know anything about that at all?
You know, I don't, and it just came out yesterday, and it might actually be through negotiations in lieu of bankruptcy is where that may be coming from. I know that there's been a number of different cases that are out there, some that are split off from the collective class to settle.
Right.
But I do not know whether that is because it just happened. I'm not sure that they would negotiate a settlement and then immediately file for bankruptcy unless it was already in bankruptcy or they were doing it to avoid bankruptcy.
Well,
So.
well, they can't be in bankruptcy and negotiate, that'd be bad faith. But if you could check that on Pacer or something else, I'd appreciate it.
There's certainly, as creditors, they would be able to negotiate claims with creditors to resolve those through the bankruptcy process, which it may be happening or it could happen, but at this point, I just simply don't know.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Councilman Glassburn.
And I apologize, Madam President and Law Director, for an additional question. I forget if it's the name, if it's the Waterbury or the Westbury, the large apartment building at Brook Park and Great Northern Boulevard. Is there any update as to what they're doing there? I have an update on that. I can tell you, if you give me one moment, I can pull that up. We've had some email issues today. Westbury. The Westbury plea, it's set in Rocky River on the 6th of December. They've not presented as of yet. They were required to present to us a professional schedule for repairs, where they're instead using a very basic form that we have not accepted because the building department has not accepted that. I know Mr. O'Malley is continuing to work with the city, on behalf of the city with the Westbury, and also with that lender. I think I mentioned to you previously there was a lender involved to ensure that the repairs are being undertaken in order to,
provide the funding for that. At the same time, the city would work with the lender to ensure that we didn't undercut their efforts to loan the money to get the repairs. So it's kind of this triangle that we're working with right now. It's a slow grind, but we are, it's been, 5 years now? We've been working through this to try to get this result. We do have the case in Common Pleas Court, we do have the case in Rocky River, so I anticipate that we'll see something concluded very shortly in both of those. They're kind of working off of each other, but as of right now, we're still waiting for them to comply with what they said they would originally submit, which is a long-standing issue that we've dealt with at the Westbury. So when I do get more information on that, I did get an update on it, I'll be happy to share it with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilwoman Heenan.
Thank you, Madam President. Law Director, what kind of value are they, what's a dollar value to the amount of their repairs? What are we, what kind of figure are we talking about that it's in disrepair?
I don't off the top of my head because you're dealing with structural changes to the surface of the garage.
An
And then you also
estimate?
had the entire skin of the building that was being redone. I know that you were talking several hundred, multi-$100,000. I don't think we exceeded $1 million in repairs at this point, but we don't have the full scope of the repairs done because they haven't submitted the full scope of work that they intend to do. We know what we want them to do, but if they were going to do what we asked them to do, we wouldn't be talking about this 5 years after we started talking about it. So it's like pulling teeth at times.
And there's
Once
no-
Rocky River found out that we were downtown, Rocky River kind of deferred to downtown, and that's really not what we had hoped would happen. We'd hope we would be able to continue to get the criminal trial process, keep it going at the same time we could deal with the civil injunction downtown. It's kind of slowed down to a crawl.
Well, and why not put it all downtown, just out of curiosity? There's more.
The criminal cases predate, I got a filing date on that. The criminal cases predate, those are 2020 injunction cases. There's 2020 downtown. They predate by 4 years. So you're not excluded from both remedies. You can get an injunction, but we'd prefer to prosecute as well. So you can get the court order to enjoin them. You could get a criminal conviction with a probationary requirement to comply, which could force them to do the compliance and repairs. We're kind of using I would guess it's called a belt and suspenders approach. You only need one, but you can do both. I think it's a more effective way to get a result that you're trying to get. Frankly, pressure it from both sides to try to get the problem fixed is the ultimate objective. I'm not interested in getting a conviction per se. We want it fixed. And it's been a real struggle with the building department to get the kind of quality submissions that are required to get the approval to do the work. As you can imagine, when you're taking the exterior of a building off, it's dangerous. We've seen collapses, we've seen pieces of the building fall off.
Yeah.
So,
And so we cannot put it under some sort of just close the building and that's it? It has to be vacated and they have to just deal with it?
we have not gone to close the entire building at this point in time.
Because?
Well, I would leave it up to...
It's 5 years, right?
Well,
5?
Condemning a building is a pretty drastic measure, and we've...
Well, I get pretty drastic complaints.
Well, we've made the decision not to condemn the building, working in conjunction with Mr. Grusenmeyer. It's not
I
a
see.
condemnation situation.
Just alone the elevator broken for 3 years was a big problem.
I don't know anything about the elevator being broken for 3 years.
Sure you do. Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Nothing. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Kopfer, do you have a report this evening?
Yes, I do, Madam President. 2021-69, before you this evening on first reading, is the temporary budget for 2022. It's a general stroke of a temporary budget where, which we've done in not the recent past, but prior to the last 5 years, we've done it this way, where we just have a temporary budget in general, a third of the 2021 operating budget. Gives us enough spending to cover us through the end of March if it takes that long to pass the permanent budget. There are certain adjustments that are in there which will go into more detail in the committee meeting next week for things that happened in the first quarter. The new administration will be presenting a detailed budget in February 22 that must be passed by March 31st of 2022, and we'll have budget hearings during that time that will be when the detailed budget hearings occur. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Moving into council committee reports, Councilwoman Williamson, Vice Chairwoman of the Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do, Madam President, thank you. The Public Safety, Health, and Welfare Committee met at 7:42 PM this evening. Present were committee members Williamson and Limpert, council members Glassburn and Kelly, our council president, finance director, planning director, and guests. On the agenda was a liquor permit transfer, permit number 0077701 for AE Pro LLC, doing business as Frank's Place, located at 4862 Dover Center Road. Upon a check by the police department, they found no issues related to this establishment and had no objection to the liquor permit transfer. At this time, Madam President, our committee voted by a vote of 2-0 to recommend not to object. So at this time, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to not object to liquor permit number 0077701 for AE Pro LLC, doing business as Frank's Place, located at 4862 Dover Center Road, and I'd like to ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to not object to liquor permit number 0077701 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 5-0.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Williamson, as Chair of Building, Zoning, and Development, do you have a report this evening?
I do. Thank you, Madam President. The Building, Zoning, and Development Committee met on November 10th at 7:03 PM. Present were committee members Williamson and Limpert and Schuman, council members Glassburn, Heeman, and Kelly, our council president, our law director, human resources director, planning director, and guests. There were 2 items on the agenda. The first was Resolution 2021-64, which reads, a resolution authorizing the Director of Human Resources to solicit proposals from qualified lawn care service providers to perform nuisance abatement work for 2022 and 2023, and further authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract for lawn care services. Director Gallo indicated that this resolution is to seek proposals for nuisance abatement services for the calendar years 2022 and 2023. While this is a standard procedure for the city, this resolution seeks proposals for a 2-year contract rather than standard 1-year contract. Suspension was requested so that proposals could be immediately sought for the 2022-23 calendar years. The committee voted 3-0 to recommend approval to all of council with suspension. The committee also heard CMS 21-20558 Smoke City Vape, located at 24137 Lorraine Road. The committee and council heard from the applicant and a representative of Timber Development. The applicant is seeking to expand his sales from vape products to include other types of smoking products, including tobacco, and is requesting council to lift the 2019 restriction associated with their conditional use permit. The committee voted 3-0 to hold this matter so that additional information could be obtained. The meeting will be scheduled at a later date. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, member of the Finance Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report, Madam President, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Limpert, Chairman of the Streets and Transportation Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report for streets, Madam President. I just wanted to make a note, though, that there was a landmarks meeting on last week, Monday, and they're continuing their pursuit for a landmark designation for Springvale. So, thank you. That concludes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Heeman, Chairwoman of the Environmental Control Committee, do you have a report this evening?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glassburn, Chairman of the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, Chairman of the Recreation, Public Parks, and Buildings Committee, do you have a report this evening?
No report this evening. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Are there any letters or communications to come before council at this time?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us at our council meeting this evening. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council, please approach the podium. Please state your full name and address for our clerk. If you live in a city other than North Olmsted, please state the name of that city and proceed with your comments. You have up to 5 minutes to address council. Seeing no comments from our audience this evening, we will now move into legislation.
Legislation on third reading. Resolution 2021-65, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution dispensing with the formal RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Pradco to provide pre-employment testing and police and fire promotional testing services and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Lippert.
I'd like to move for adoption of Resolution 2021-65 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-65 made by Councilman Lippert, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-65 is adopted with a vote of 5-0.
Resolution 2021-66, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution dispensing with the formal RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Personnel Selection Services to provide entry-level and written promotional testing services and declaring an emergency.
Madam President,
Councilman Lippert.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-66 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-66 made by Councilman Lippert, seconded by Councilwoman Williamson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-66 is adopted with a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance 2021-67, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to negotiate and enter into an agreement with the North Olmsted Board of Education to exchange school district-owned real property, PPN 234-21-009, for city-owned real property, PPN 234-16-004, via land exchange as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code, Section 3313.40, for the purpose of acquiring land for the necessary public infrastructure improvements.
Madam President,
Councilman Kelly.
I move for adoption of 2021-67 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Ordinance 2021-67 made by Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Abstain.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-67 is adopted with a vote of 4-0.
Ordinance 2021-68, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation for the purpose of acquiring state-owned property for a local public purpose.
Madam President,
Councilman Kelly.
I move to adopt 2021-68 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Ordinance 2021-68 made by Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Abstain.
Ordinance 2021-68 is adopted with a vote of 4-0.
Legislation on second reading. Resolution 2021-64, introduced by Mayor Kennedy. A resolution authorizing the Director of Human Resources to solicit proposals from qualified lawn care service providers to perform nuisance abatement work for 2022 and 2023, and further authorizing the mayor, subject to approval of the Board of Control, to enter into a contract for lawn care services.
Madam President,
Councilwoman Williamson.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings as this matter was heard in committee and is necessary so that proposals could be sought prior to the 2022-23 calendar years. And ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Lippert. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Ms. Heeman?
Yes.
The motion passes with a vote of 5-0. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding Resolution 2021-64, please approach the podium.
Madam President, seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-64 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-64 made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Resolution 2021-64 is adopted with a vote of 5-0.
Legislation on first reading. Ordinance 2021-69. An ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
On behalf of Mayor Kennedy and myself, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2021-70. An ordinance to make and transfer appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the city of North Olmsted for the year ending December 31st, 2021, and declaring an emergency.
On behalf of Mayor Kennedy, I introduce, place on first reading, and request suspension of the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review.
Madam President,
Councilman Kelly.
I move to adopt 2021-70 and waive the 3 readings and formal committee review because of time-sensitive issues in this.
Second.
Motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings and formal committee review made by Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
That motion passes with a vote of 5-0. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address council regarding ordinance 2021-70, please approach the podium.
All right. Seeing none, I move to adopt 2021-70 and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2021-70 made by Councilman Kelly, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-70 is adopted with a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance 2021-71, an ordinance amending the rates of compensation for administrative personnel in the Division of Aging for the years 2021, 2022, and 2023, and otherwise restating the compensation rates and descriptions for various administrative and legislative personnel for the years 2021, 2022, and 2023, and declaring an emergency.
On behalf of Mayor Kennedy, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2021-72, a resolution directing the fiscal officer of Cuyahoga County to pay the city of North Olmsted, Ohio during the year 2022, all money due and owing said city from any collection source and declaring an emergency.
On behalf of Mayor Kennedy, I introduce and place on first reading.
Ordinance 2021-73, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County and Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Division, wherein the city will continue to implement a community diversion program to hear status, misdemeanor, or felony offense complaints involving juveniles through December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
On behalf of Mayor Kennedy, I introduce and place on first reading.
Resolution 2021-74, a resolution dispensing with a former RFP process and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Richard L. Bowen and Associates, Inc. to provide engineering consulting services to the city of North Olmsted and declaring an emergency.
On behalf of Mayor Kennedy and myself, I place on first reading.
Resolution 2021-75, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a 1-year contract with ProCare Services in order to provide maintenance and repair services for medical equipment used by the North Olmsted Fire Department and declaring an emergency.
I introduce and place on first reading on behalf of Mayor Kennedy. Looking to schedule council committee meetings for next Tuesday, November 23rd. Councilwoman Williamson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to schedule a safety committee meeting at 7 p.m. for 2021-73 and 2021-75. I'd ask that the mayor or his designee be present, and perhaps the law director. And then for building, zoning, and development, request 7:15 to address Resolution 2021-74. And I would ask the mayor or his designee to be present for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly.
I'd like to have a finance committee at 7:25 PM on November 23rd to discuss 2021-69, 71, and 72, and ask the finance director to be there, please.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor to excuse the absence of Councilman Broussard from this evening's meeting?
So
Motion.
moved.
Second.
Motion to excuse the absence of Councilman Broussard made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilwoman Heeman. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Councilman Broussard has been excused from tonight's meeting with a vote of 5-0. Is there a motion on the floor to excuse the absence of Councilman Schuman from tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Williamson, seconded by Councilman Limpert. Roll call, please.
Ms. Williamson?
Yes.
Mr. Limpert?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Glassburn?
Yes.
Ms. Seaman?
Yes.
Councilman Schuman has been excused from tonight's meeting with a vote of 5-0. With the agenda being completed and there being no further business to come before council this evening, the meeting of November 16th, 2021 is adjourned at 8:27 PM.